Good morning, everyday leaders. I am Melanie Ake. I'm coming to you from the Everyday Leaders studio here in Indianapolis. And this morning, I am so excited. We have been bringing you things through COVID-19 that are trying to help you encourage, inspire your life so that you can live your best life as an everyday leader. And so every day, we're trying to challenge you to do new things, exciting things that will help you with your life. Today, I have my great friend, Dan Dominguez from the Why Institute. And we are going to share with you some secrets that I'm learning about my why and how, if you learn this, it can really help you just do things differently and create the life that you want. So many things that Dan and I have been talking about with strength finders and disc profiling and the Enneagram and Colby and all these things that you look into and say, these are the things that influence my personality. And so everybody loves to dig into that. Remember our first psychology classes that we took in college? Right? Everybody said, I want to be a psychologist. But this gives you so much just structure to the things that you already know about yourself. And Dan, I love this because what you've taught me is this is an operating system for our life.
It really is. A lot of people ask, what's the difference, Daniel, between the why that you guys talk about and the why that Simon talks about? And it's really just an evolution of it. Simon gave us something that was really beautiful and abstract. Find your why. What Gary, our founder and CEO, has done is he's turned it into something that's practical and useful. And he's put a lot of work into it, Melanie. I love to tell the story of how he came up with the concept of your why. And he saw the same video that you saw. We all saw Simon talk 10 years ago about the fact that, we needed to find our why. And Gary said, yes, I need to find my why. So he called Simon up and he spent about 8 months back and forth on the phone with Simon. So he said, Simon, help me find my why. And Simon said, I don't know how to do that, but I'll work with you on it. And they spent 8 months and they figured out that Gary's why was to find a better way and share it with the world. And guess what he did? He said, there's got to be a better way to find your why than to spend 8 months with Simon Sinek back and forth on the phone and on conference calls. So he dedicated the next 2 years of his life to interviewing people and figuring out what their why was. And Melanie, if he was next to you on a plane, he was going to figure out your why. If you were standing next to him in the grocery store, didn't matter who you were, he was going to ask you questions. And he compiled all that information. And you've actually taken the assessment. It's a 5-minute assessment, but there's a possible 1,500 question combinations you can get asked. So nobody's going to sit through 1,500 questions, right? So what he did is he made it logic-based. So that based on how you answer a certain question, it takes you a certain place, and then it delivers a report for you that tells you what your why is. One of the 9 whys.
Amazing. And, the thing is, just like anything else, when you start this, you say, oh, I'm a little bit of all of those.
Yes.
Right? Because you think like you're trying to just kind of like take it apart. And you think, oh, well, I'm this, or I'm more like this, or on good days, I'm like this. On bad days, I could be like this. Or my husband sees me as this, or my wife sees me as this. I show up to my church like this. Right. Yeah. And so this is just but your core. This is why I love the why. It's what makes you evolve to who you are and how you show up in the world. And so if you don't know that, you could be struggling your whole life looking for that billboard to go, is that it? Right. And this helped me really going through this process, Dan. It helped me say, oh, I get it. This is why it's all coming together. This is why I'm showing up the way that I am and what drives me, right, to get up and do this every day. So it really put clarity around how I want to message the rest of who I'm trying to deliver, right, to the world to contribute, because that's my why. And I love it.
Exactly. And, a lot of people say, so what is a why? We like to say it's your core motivation. It's really what drives you initially. It's what you do with everything. So Melanie, you're a big fan of saying how you do one thing is how you do everything. So maybe it'd be a good time now to talk about the 9 whys.
Absolutely.
So let's start so that people can get grounded in them. The first one and the most common one is the one that you and I share, and that's to contribute to a greater cause, make a difference, add value, or have an impact. You and I love to help people. We can't help ourselves. We actually will help people above helping ourselves, right? We'll put other people ahead of what we need if we're not careful. So we have to be really conscious of the fact that we are givers. And that's okay, but we understand that about ourselves. The second why is trust. So people with the why of trust believe that trust is the most important thing. If they trust you and you trust them, sky's the limit. If you break their trust, boy, there's going to be problems, right? So we all know someone like that. And it's important that we know and that we operate in a spirit of trust in everything we do with them so we can maintain that relationship. For you and I, if I show up 15 minutes too late to an appointment with you, you're like, hey, Dan, you're 15 minutes late. For somebody with a why of trust, that's a big deal because they're going to say, well, can I trust him to be on time next time, right? So we have to know that about ourselves so we can give ourselves a break and give the people around us a break. It's very helpful to know that. The third why is to make sense of things. People with this why can take in lots of information and data, and they can make decisions quickly. They're problem solvers. This is your how, Melanie, and we talked about this. You're very good at doing that, and that's why you're such a great coach, because you can take what people are struggling with and you can make sense of it for them. The challenge with people with the why of make sense is they're so smart and so quick that sometimes they can be impatient with other people. So people can't keep up with you. So you have to learn to slow down for people and give people time to come around to what you're doing. The fourth one is to find a better way and share it. And I talked about Gary. That's his why. In everything they do, they're looking to find a better way to do things and share it with the world, from brushing your teeth to driving down the highway to the fuel that powers the space shuttle. They're always looking for better ways. And so we know that about ourselves. We know to let people know, hey, listen, when you bring something to me, I'm not picking on it. I'm just always looking for a better way. So I'm going to suggest some ways to make it better. So maybe a good way to work with somebody who's a better way, especially if they're your boss, is bring them drafts. That's exactly what I do with Gary. I never finish anything. I take it to him when it's about 90% done and say, hey, Gary, what do you think? And guess what he does? He says, well, it's really good, Dan, but here's something else we could do. What if we did this? And then I just take that and finish it, and we get along great. Number 5, to do things the right way. People with this why believe that there's a right way to do things, and they follow policies and procedures. If in your coaching business, Melanie, these are the people, when you give them a plan, you give them a 90-day plan and you check in with them in 90 days, guess what? They've done everything on that list because there's a right way to do it. And Melanie said to do it that way. And that's exactly what they're going to do. The 6th one is to think different and to challenge the status quo. So these are the opposite of the right way people. In everything they do, they're always looking to say, hey, why do we have to do it that way? Right? If we can do it differently, if we can make it fun. Yes, you may. By the way, meet Sophia. She came in to get some paper. You want to say hi to everyone?
Hi, I'm sorry.
Hi.
So Sophia is a challenger. Sophia, in everything she does, she's always asking, Dad, why do we have to do it that way? Let's make it fun, right? And these are great people to have on your team if you need their creativity. In a highly regulated environment, they're going to feel stifled. But if you give them the opportunity to be creative and share their opinions and do fun things, make things fun, they're going to blossom and you're going to have a great teammate there. And then we've got a couple more to go through. Mastery. This is one of the rarest whys. So Melanie, there are 9 whys, right? So you would imagine that 11% of the population would have each of them. This one is only 4%. We've done this with about 48,000 people, and only about 4% of the population has this why. These are your deep learners. These are people who love learning just for the sake of learning. They're your subject matter experts. When they get into something, they get into it deeply and know it really, really well. So when you go to them with a question about their area of expertise, you can be 100% sure that they're going to give you the right answer. And they won't give you an answer unless they're sure. So they're great to have on the team as subject matter experts. The last 2 are clarify and simplify. Clarifiers are people who need extreme clarity in everything they do. They want to be clear so they can move forward. So they ask a lot of questions. So I like to use the example when you're in a meeting sometimes and everybody's ready to go to lunch. Your clarifier is the person that keeps asking questions like, wait, hold on, I still have a question. And as soon as they get clear, they can move forward. So we have to make sure we have all the information for them. And then your simplify why. Melanie, these are people that like to keep things simple. So you give them a 18-step plan for their improvement. Guess what they're going to say? Melanie, give me 3 steps. Give me 3 things I can do, and then I will take off and do them. So they're great to have on the team because they like to keep things simple. Everybody loves having that person on the team that breaks everything down to its simplest form. So there's the 9 whys. Thank you.
I was typing again. I was like, oh, I want to make sure that I get it in the right order for you. But here's the thing, right? What I said first is we all think that we have the capacity. We do all of these things in our life. It's just like you said, what's the core driver?
Right.
What's the core driver? And then when you start to kind of put this together like a puzzle, you say, oh, that makes sense. Like that's my second one.
Yeah, that's your second one, right?
So for me, that's how I approach things. But when you know that, if we talk about all these other profiles, and so when you're trying to identify a team or your even your house, right? Your house has changed because of COVID and quarantine. So being a better communicator is important in every facet of our life. So if we understand how we operate and we understand how other people in our lives operate, where they're coming from, my goodness, this can really change our life.
I think as leaders, I mean, I was a sales leader at Baxter Healthcare for a long time. I wish I had this tool with the managers that worked for me so I could understand what drove them. I think the communication would have been so much better. So I think as leaders, we owe it to ourselves to understand what drives our people. So knowing that somebody is a person that likes to make sense, right? They're the ones that sit in that meeting. So as a boss, I'm sitting there going over the plan for the year, right? The 20 slide PowerPoint. My make sense manager is sitting there drumming his fingers because he's already figured it out. He's got all the information he needs. And I might be thinking he's being disrespectful, and he's not. All he's done is he's got all the information he needs. My clarifier is going to sit there and ask a lot of questions. So maybe if I knew that ahead of time, I can say, hey, Tom, you and I can stay after and I'll go over all those questions that you have. It just helps you run a more effective meeting when you know the people on your team through their why. And then we talked about your why, how, and what, Melanie. So we did this with you recently, and that's what led to this interview. So your why is to contribute, and how you do that is by making sense of the complex, and what you bring is a better way to do things. How did that resonate with you?
I think it made sense, first of all, because I've always said what it's been in my heart to try to do to show up to add value to people. And so we've got like thousands of John Maxwell coaches that I know are going to watch this. And we say, we want to show up because we want to add value. That's what we all say. How do I do that? Well, it depends, right, on your core values. So as you've taken us through these 9 whys, mine is because I want to contribute to make a bigger impact in the world.
Yes.
And so by doing that, it's to help others become successful. That's how I contribute to others. Making sense of that is really starting to define like the puzzle, right? How do I start to strategically help people put things into place for their own life to be able to make that impact? And then how I'm doing that and what I'm doing is this whole media process, right? Being able to help people in my gifted space to share their stories. And so it's just been amazing to get that clarity on it. You know what you do, but why you do it, it really helps everything else become super simple, right?
Yeah. And I love that you said that. I think the clarity of purpose that we get when we know our YOS, when Gary did this with me almost a year and 2 months ago, October of 2019, I was sitting in a chair. He was working he's a dentist by trade. He's retiring to do Y Institute full time this month. We're so excited about that. But Gary sat me down and says, here, Dan, take your why. And then I took my why, found out that I was contribute, took 5 minutes. And then he says, so contribute. So Dan, you like helping people. You like contributing to greater causes. I said, yeah. Doesn't everybody? And that's the other thing. You have to remember that not everybody's wired like you. You think, oh, doesn't everyone want to contribute to the success of others? Well, maybe they do. All your John Maxwell coaches, you all want to help others, but you go about it in different ways. So Gary's why is better way. The way he contributes is by helping you find a better way to do what you do. The way somebody with the why of mastery does it is by knowing everything they can and sharing it with you so that they can contribute to the greater cause. So everybody has a why. I love what you put up. we love this line. When what you do is in line with why you do what you do and how you want to express it, you will have passion. And passion is the fuel that gives you the energy to pursue your dreams, right? If you have passion, you're going to have energy. When I bring something to Melanie and we talk about it, does it contribute? Does it make sense? And is it better? Are you going to have energy for that project?
Absolutely.
Right. But if I come to you and I say, look, Melanie, let's work on something, but it doesn't really help people. It's just kind of something we're going to do. It doesn't make a lot of sense. It's going to take, we got to figure it out. It's a little confusing right now. And it's not better than anything that's out there. Are you going to want to do that project? Right.
Earmuffs.
Right. You start walking the other way. And so it also becomes your filter, right? That you filter things. When people bring stuff to Melanie, the first thing she's going to say, well, does it help people? Does it make sense? And is it better? If it checks off those three things, I'll do it. If it checks off two of them, maybe. If it checks off one of them, maybe. But it's got to at least have one of those three, because that's your top three. And like you said, we all have a little bit of all of them. A lot of us have a very strong fourth why that we have. So our what is somewhat of a combination of the two. And Jerry Lujan, who's one of our partners, he talks about that all the time. Sometimes people are saying, maybe my what is better way, maybe it's right way. So we say, well, keep them both. Just make sure you message that when you create your personal brand statement.
Absolutely. I've got some questions here in the chat. I love this.
Awesome. Yes.
Well, first of all, everybody said hi to Sophia.
She steals the show every time.
So,
Kids and dog.
yes, the most common versus mastery, which is only 4%.
Correct. So the most common is contribute. And 22% of the population. So we've done this with over 40,000 people, and about 22% of the people that have taken it come back as contribute. And I say that's a good thing. We have a lot of people out there that want to help others succeed. And these are the people on the team that you love having, because in everything they do, they care about the greater cause. So it's great that we have a great number of the population that does this. And the number hasn't changed over the years. Good question. Thank you, Matthew.
Absolutely. And for right now, we were going to wait to do this, but I think we've got so many people on the chat here. I'd like to go ahead and put this link in, because we're offering to be able to discover your own why on December 11th. This was kind of the purpose, to start introducing people to what this is. So I'd like to, I'm just going to share this here. I'm also going to click this and put this in the chat, so that if anybody decides that they would like to sign up for this, I'll go ahead and click it here. And I am doing this. Go ahead and keep talking, Dan, and I'm going to
So while you're putting in the chat, let's talk to a little bit about that process. So we discovered your why, how, and what, right, Melanie? And we call that your why operating system. So if you think of a computer, right, in a computer, the operating system is defined as the collection of software that kind of directs a computer's operations, controlling and scheduling the execution of all the other programs and the communication resources. Well, your WHY+OS is your top three whys, and they kind of do that for you. They control and direct your operations and resources and how you communicate. So Matthew, who's on the call, we did this with him. He's amazing. He runs a company called Go Narrative, and he helps companies tell their story. So when Matthew and I first met, we started talking about his why. His why is challenge the status quo, and then his how and his what. He says, Dan, I can see using this with my clients who are trying to tell their story. And so he incorporated the WHY+OS into the work that he does when he starts working with clients. And it just helps him gain that clarity that you talked about earlier, because now you know how you as a leader operate. Imagine when you take over a team. A lot of coaches work with executives who are changing from one business to another, or they're going to a brand new company where they've led another. Imagine that your CEO comes in. And so I'll put myself in that position. What if I'm your new CEO and I come in on the first day and I tell you that, hey, this is me, and everything I do, I will contribute to the success of others. Now, how I'm going to do that is by challenging the status quo. So I'm going to do things a little bit differently, and it might make you uncomfortable, but that's okay. Now you know that about me. But what I deliver is the fact that I love to build relationships based on trust. So trust is very important to me. So in 3 sentences, that whole new team that is now reporting to me knows how I tick. And that's my brand statement. They say, hey, if we want to bring something to Dan, let's make sure it helps people. Let's make sure it challenges the status quo and it builds trust. And he's probably going to go for it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. It is a whole new narrative, right?
Yes.
Because you sit back and you think about, if I could plan to be successful, it's going into that job interview. If you really understood how the people that you were interviewing with thought, you could really deliver what they're looking for, right? And when we say how we do one thing is how we do everything. So you want to show up as yourself. Maybe that eliminates the types of jobs that you may go after in 2021. You may really start to think about how you connect to your purpose and then say, well, what would those 4 or 5 top things be that I would want to do to show up as I am, right? Kind of changes the whole conversation.
It really does. So it's interesting you brought that up, because as we're looking at transitions, so and I hope people sign up. I saw somebody signed up already. I'll pull that up and share, because I saw that somebody's already in for December 11th. But what we'll do is we'll spend some time, Melanie and I did this. It took us about 2 hours to go through it, right? And we figured out her why, how, and what. So one of the things that we were stuck in between, we didn't know if Melanie was Make Sense, or what was your other one that we were going back and forth? I think it was Mastery, right?
Master or Challenge. I was like challenging the status quo, because but also, right, it's always creating things new. So what was it? Like, I was a battle between a lot of the top 5, and then thinking, when it came out to contributor, I thought, well, of course I am. that's how I really want to show up. So anyway.
Yeah. Well, and so we talked about it a little bit earlier. You want to make sure that your top 3 strengths are something you can do. So when I came to the Why Institute, so I left my career in medical device sales in October of last year. And my plan, Melanie, was to take a year off. I said, I'm going to take a year before I even look at work again. Well, you can only play so much golf and take your kid to school. The parents at the school start wondering what you're doing there all the time, right? And I met Gary, and he's been my dentist for 20 years. So I've known him for a long time. He tells me about what he's doing at the Why Institute, does my why. I immediately, after I did my why, I signed up for the why, how, what, the WHY+HOW+WHAT that we're offering on December 11th on my own. And then when I finished it, Gary and I sat down to talk. And he says, Dan, and this is important to say, because, again, this is a practitioner of the why, the guy who invented the why. He says, Dan, I think we need your help, right? So what happens when you talk to a contributor about needing help? I said, what can I do, Dan? Right? Gary, how can I help? He says, we need somebody with your sales expertise. You've had a career in sales. You've managed a $500 million sales budget. We need your help to take our Why Institute to the next level. Well, I don't think I asked a single question. I said, I'm in. 2 months into my 1-year hiatus, I was in. But that's important, I think, to know. If you're a coach or if you're a business owner, when you know the whys of your team or your clients, it helps you talk to them in their language. We call it the platinum rule. Talk to people in the language that they like to be talked to in. So that's what Gary did. He took me to lunch at a Chinese restaurant right next to the dentist's office, and we're sitting there. He said, we need your help. And as soon as he said that, I'm in, right? If I was a better way, he probably would have said, Dan, we have found a better way to help people discover their core motivation. Can you help us with that? And that would have drawn me in. And again, it's important that we use this for good. And that's the other reason I think this is such a great tool. That's why we work with coaches, because we know coaches are there to help people. But you can imagine an unscrupulous party could use this information for bad, right? And understanding that contributors, hey, they love to give. Let's hit them up for everything, right? People with the why of trust, let's get their trust, and then they'll give us their money, or we can take advantage of them. So it's really important that we see these as the gifts that they are. People with the why of challenge, Matthew, who's been commenting. Thank you, Matthew, for all your comments. His why is challenge. Often when we talk to these people and we give them the language of what a gift it is to be a challenger, it's a surprise to them, because they've always felt like the oddball. These are the kids that when they were teenagers dyed their hair blue, Melanie, and they wear the flashy clothes, and they might go to college and they might take 6 years and they might change majors 3 times, and they're just going to do things differently. But they're a gift to have in our organizations, because if we're stuck on something, guess what? Let's go to a challenger and they'll say, have you thought of this? And all of us are going to say, no, how did you even think of that, right? Because they see the world differently. They bring a fresh perspective. We want those people on our team. And like I said, all of the whys have a gift. All of the 9 whys are a gift. We just have to know. And when we know their why, how, and what, we really know that operating system.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I'm going to, got a couple questions here. What was
excellent?
Oh, yes. That was for Matthew.
Yeah. So Matthew was at Microsoft, and as a challenger, boy, he did run into, obviously, as I said, if you're in a highly regulated environment, or there's a regimented environment where, hey, this is how we do things, and your why is to challenge, you're probably going to get into a little bit of trouble. Mm-hmm. You have to have that freedom.
Yes. Hello, Jose. Jose is taking the 75 days hard challenge. Jose, you are in for all kinds of challenges. This would be super great for you. Jose just opened the Entrepreneur's Bookshelf here recently and last year, and challenges himself with everything. I would love to know your why. I think I know it, but but I'd love for you to take this assessment.
So, Jose, here's what's really cool. When you sign up for the class on the 11th, we're going to send you a free why. So the why, if you go to our website, you can go to whyinstitute.com. Anybody can go there and discover their why for $47. But if you sign up for the December 11th, we're going to send everybody that signs up, the first 10 people that sign up, they're going to get a free why. And then we're going to work together. It's a fun session. Going through, Melanie and I did it together for her. But when we do it as a group, we find out about each other. We get some rapport going, and you learn some examples, because what we do, especially when somebody's stuck, for example, Melanie, we ask some questions, and sometimes people will bring their wife in, hey, or their husband, come help me. What do you think I do? How do you think I go about contributing? And it makes it a lot of fun. We learn a lot about each other and about ourselves. Absolutely. So I hope you join us, Jose.
Yes, I hope you do too, Jose. And then Steve Gamlin, he has my heart. He does everything from purpose. He has vision mastery classes. And Steve, I would love to see you in this class. This would be really fun to see what your why is. I think I know that one too, but you never can tell.
Yes.
So
I love the way Steve opened with his first comment. Good morning, rock stars. I love that, Steve. Thank you. and I'll tell you what, Steve, what we're gonna have a lot of fun during the course. But what's really cool is, you say you're looking over the past 5 years of growing your business. As you build your team around yourself, you build your team around the whys that you don't have, right? So looking at our team, our founder and CEO and our senior partner, Jerry, when their why is better way in everything that they do, they're always looking for a better way. And their how is clarify. Both of them have the same how. Jerry's what is contribute, and Gary's why is simplify. So they needed somebody crazy like me with the how of challenge in the middle, because what I'll do is I'll come up with all kinds of crazy ideas. We have, and we're all, for those of you that know Colby, we're all quick starts, all 3 of us. So we need somebody in there with a make sense or simplify to take notes and keep us on track. But what I was going to say is, when you have a challenger like Matthew, we're going to come up with crazy ideas and lots of ideas. What's great about working with Jerry and Gary, who are better ways, is that they say, Dan, you just threw out 10 ideas. You know what? 3 of those are better than what we're doing. So let's implement those. And so they become a great filter for me, and they make me more effective, because otherwise I would chase all 10 of the crazy ideas and spin my wheels, right? So when we work as coaches, so the work that you do, Melanie, understanding where people are coming from in terms of their why, challengers, you're going to have to really steer them. And then you're going to have to steer them to make sure they build a team around themselves that can help them distill those ideas and implement them, because there's a lot of ideas. We can talk about fun ideas all day long. Which ones are you going to implement? so that you can move forward and you can grow your business as Steve has done over the past 5 years. So Steve, I hope you're there. Someone just said that they just signed up. So great. We've got at least 2. Yes. I would look, except I'm not so good at operating my computer and talking at the same time, Melanie.
That's okay. I love this because, this is what I wanted to do, give people an opportunity to understand what you're doing, Dan, because I think it's so important. People that have followed me in the Everyday Leaders platform know my story a little bit, and I'll remind people that haven't heard this before. But when I joined the John Maxwell team, the first session that I went to was a Live to Lead, and Simon Sinek was there.
Yeah.
Simon Sinek did his whole speech on start with why, right? So I have start with why, find your why, leaders eat last. Together is better. Like I'm a junkie, the infinite game, because I really understood that your purpose, if you start with this whole concept and you really start to understand it from your core, everything else builds what you do, how you do it every single day. And I told Simon at the conference, I got my book signed, and I said, hey, I've taken this and used it in Germany so that we can now take distributor reps into direct reps. And it tickled him a little bit, but I thought that's something that we'll always have that connection bond, because I wanted to contribute to him. At the time, I didn't know it, but I wanted to contribute to him and let him know how much I appreciated his platform. And so when I think about that, like why everything that he says, these videos that I share on the Everyday Leaders group and on LinkedIn and on YouTube, it's so important because I value that. And I see it as just, replicating the things that I believe. And so I believe what you're doing, and that's why I love to celebrate you. So,
well, thanks so much, Melanie. And, you brought up one thing I know we're getting close to finishing up, but I want to say this. You developed your WHY+OS, your why, how, what statement. And if we go back to Simon, as you talked about, and one of the things he says is very important, let people know what you believe. If you let people know what you believe, you're going to attract people that believe what you believe. And that's so important when we create that why, how, what statement. It's Matt Plank. He's already registered. So we have him on board. I hope Jose joins us and Stephen does also. But when we tell people what we believe, we attract people that believe what we believe. And those are the people that we want to attract. Now, you're going to not attract some people. And that's also good, right, Melanie? If you want people that say, you know what, for my coach, for the person I want to work with, I want somebody that contributes, makes sense, and finds better ways. If they say that, if that resonates with them, they're going to hire you and you're going to have a great relationship with them. If it doesn't resonate with them, they're not going to hire you. And that's okay, because the people that do come to you already know what to expect from you.
Yep. And so, Steve, yes, I just shared the link again. If you need it, I'm going to put it here on the banner so that you can see it and you can copy it. So discover.whyinstitute.com /product/personal why-os-melahni-ake. Go to that. You can't copy and paste it from this, but it should show up in the links on LinkedIn, YouTube, and across all the Facebook platforms.
And so you can email me too. If you've got a question, just dan@whyinstitute.com. I know your network has your email, Melanie, so they can get a hold of you. So just send us an email and we'll get you that link. Like I said, I think we're at 2 or 3 people so far. So we've got 7 spots left. And I know this is going on all your platforms, Melanie. So I'm looking forward to that group of 10 on the 11th. It's going to be a lot of fun.
It is going to be a lot of fun. Oh, Matt just wanted us to know this is really what he's going through right now. And this is really ideal for people that are in transformation.
Yes.
So, walking away from something that you've done for a period of time, 8 years, 10 years, 5 years, and then something's on your heart to do something bigger. So when you start to discover your core value, you're a good person, you add value to the world, you've studied something, you're proficient at something, and you say, how can I use that now? How can I use that for significance in the world? And this is what I think is really going to help a lot of people start on this journey.
I love that. Jodi had a question. Do you mind if I answer it, Melanie?
Oh, yes. Let me pop it up right here. There we go.
Perfect. So, Jodi, does your why change over the course of time, or is it something that you stay consistent with? What we have found, and now we've done this with about, like I said, over 40,000 people, is your why doesn't change. It's hardwired in you probably by the time you're in your teen years, because, and the next question I know Jodi's going to ask is, are you born with your why, or is it caused by your surroundings? So is it nature or nurture? And the answer to that is yes. It's both. It really is. I think some of us innately are why. For example, I think I naturally have always been a giver, but I think I had exposures in my life where I had great mentors, people that really helped me along the way, that said to me, you know what, I want to give back. And so in everything I do, I'm always looking to give back. And I think that's the same way for people who are better way, who are trust, who are challenged. Some of it is hardwired, and some of it you learn as you go through life. So Jodi, thank you for that question. It's a good question. A lot of people ask it, so I'm glad you were on today.
Excellent. And so, here are some of the pages I just wanted to share real quick.
Yeah.
The WHY+. And so if you're, really looking and searching for what you're trying to do next, I really want to encourage you to take this opportunity to join us in this class that we're offering. I'm going to show you too, when you go to the link, you will find this. When you go to the link that I shared in the chat, this is what you'll see. The workshop here is December 11th, 11 to 12:30, and we have 10 spots. So I would love, love, love to see you. So Dan and I can help walk you through all of these next steps and really discover your why.
And if you're in Melanie's network, I'm really going to enjoy having you there, because everybody that I've met through Melanie has been fantastic. So I'm so glad we were on today together, Melanie, that I got a chance to share the message of the Why Institute. And I'm looking forward to this workshop on the 11th.
This is going to be great. Dan, thank you so much for your time today. Anybody, if you have any other questions that we can answer for you, please don't hesitate to reach out. You can go into this chat and you can leave a hashtag replay. Send something to me at make@everydayleaders. That's make@everydayleaders.com. Or you can go to the everydayleaders.com page on the website there and just send me a note. Contact me. You can set up a personal chat strategy session. Or even if you have a personal story to share, I love having you live, because I love to contribute to your success. So
love it.
Please don't hesitate to reach out. And Dan, anything else that we need to know about the class for the 11th?
No, listen, when you sign up, we're going to send you a why discovery. So you're going to know your why before you show up. Matt Plank, I hope you make it. I'm so glad you were on today. And Jodi, I hope you join us too. Listen, it's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure connecting with you. And can I share what you did recently with the Why Institute, Melanie?
Oh, sure. Yes, absolutely.
So Melanie and I have been talking for a couple of months back and forth, and she recently became one of our Why associates. So she is certified to help people walk through their why discovery. So thanks for doing that, Melanie. I think your clients are going to benefit from it, and I can't wait to see what next steps you take with your business and how you help your clients discover their why.
Thank you so much. Yes, I am so excited. I connected to this and said, it was kind of like that John Maxwell moment. Like, this is my path. This fills my heart. This is going to help me contribute bigger to the world. And so it just, to me, contribute, it makes sense, and it's a better way.
That's
and
right.
I appreciate you.
Thanks so much, Melanie.
Yep. Everybody, join us on the 11th. If you have any questions, let us know how we can help you. And thank you for joining us today.
Excellent.